I think one of the strong themes that goes through this whole book and is that Jane is a very principled character. And one of the things I really love about her as a character is that she never falls into pity. She never falls into victimhood. It would have been so easy for Jane to kind of fall into a very depressive state and blame the circumstances of her life and not try and move forward and not try to build a better life. But she never falls into that trap. So Claire, do you think that's a really important lesson to modern times right now, where I see I think victimhood is almost back in vogue, as an important message for readers reading this right now?
I absolutely agree, and it's one of the reasons Jane Eyre is one of my favourite literary characters, because she's not willing to be defined by circumstance, and she is a real fighter. And as we said right at the start, I think that's why those first chapters detailing what an awful childhood she had is really fundamental to show that journey and to demonstrate that even though she had a rough time growing up, she's not going to let that let that influence how the rest of her life turns out. And I found that really challenging reading this book when I was at school, at a time where you're young, you don't necessarily have the same agency that we enjoy now as adults, and understanding that is a really valuable thing and that we should continue to strive for it in our lives. So yeah, I think that's a really integral part to Jane as a character. But I mean, the other thing I like about her, and I find I find a really excellent female heroine in this regard, is that she's so hard on herself. And I think women, generally speaking, are pretty hard on themselves. So that is something that again, when I revisit the book now, that really resonates with me, that she's trying so hard to live a good life and balance her morals with her emotions and, the heart and the head argument. And that is, that's a struggle that I think all women have. And even if we want to get really, hypercritical about it, the whole idea of her entering into a marriage, and in what circumstances was she willing to do that? Certainly not at a point where she, where it wouldn't have been a marriage with Rochester, obviously, whether it would have been as his mistress or in an unhappy marriage with St. John. But by the time she ultimately gets to the end of the novel, and yes, there have been circumstances of equalisation between her and Rochester that make it easier for her to come to the marriage, but it's almost like she's learnt to stop hitting herself over the head so hard with her own sense of self. And I think that's really important and sort of brings the story full circle.